Open live streaming
I
YouTube.
don't think we have.
That one. Date is 31/25. Live.
Oh. Hold on.
So caption says we gotta let people in since it is. Dan,
Hey, everyone.
send your own report in a second to say no.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, do I not have a pen?
Hey, here,
Thank you.
we got you.
Okay, I'll wait.
No, just start.
Okay.
I don't need to be for the
Hi, Dan.
Hey, everyone. Hi, Sue.
Hi. We will call this meeting of the Casting Select Board to order. It looks like it's 4:02. And thank you everyone for being here. We have a quorum. Amy Guteau is here, Dan Leader is here. I am here. So the first item on the agenda is, do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Did anybody, no? Okay. And next is to sign warrants and abatements. So we have a general fund warrant in the amount of $26,091.39. Do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
You. And for discussion, I will mention that this warrant had 24 bills from 16 vendors. And some of, like, the biggest one was Coastal Energy. It was filling up all the generators and making sure that the electric bill was paid for things like the sewer pumping station, which we want. It's a very good thing. So, is there any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. And our second warrant is the water department warrant for $4,711.35. Do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
Great. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. All right, next we have approval of minutes of previous meetings. So we will start. Let's all go from oldest to newest. We will start with. I move that we approve the minutes of the Monday, January 6th select board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You. All right. I'll move that we approve the meetings of the select board meeting on Tuesday, January 13th. That immediately followed our work session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah, I'm just noticing that we've got meeting minutes. I just didn't notice it earlier. Tuesday the 13th and Monday the 13th.
Whoa. I did not. Oh, it must have been on Monday. Yeah, it would have been Monday.
So that's,
So we'll change.
yeah, there we go. All right, so yes, just,
Yeah, thank you.
after we change Tuesday to Monday on the town
Thank you.
minutes.
That's the one immediately following the work session.
Oh, I see it.
So we will make that, I'll move that we approve it with that. Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And then also on Monday, we have minutes from the work session on Monday, the 13th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, all second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And we have notes from the town and gown meeting on Friday, January 17th. Have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. All second. All in favor?
Aye.
And finally, we have the minutes from our select board meeting after the town and gown meeting on Friday, January 17th, and I'll move that we approve those minutes. Second. You all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Derek, Mary kindly was in waiting room.
Okay.
We have, does anybody have any old business? Dan, no?
No.
Okay. Oh, I do want to mention I apologize, from the general warrant, I do want to mention that on Friday at the meeting after the town and gown, the select board approved or authorized the purchase of a new EMS vehicle. And tomorrow, the town will be sending a $40,000 deposit to the company for that vehicle. Just so everybody knows. All right, new business. Approve and renew liquor license. So the first liquor license that we have, or the liquor license that we have, is from Sodexo at MMA. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or discussion?
Just to let you know that there are representatives present on Zoom.
We're here.
So, it looks like this is for the Alphonse Center and the Wyman House, yes?
Correct.
And
Yes.
so it covers weekly, normal stuff going on during the week and special events
Yes, and those locations, yes.
at both locations. Okay. Okay. Are there any questions? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank-
All right, next we have innkeeper's licenses. If nobody disapproves, I would make a motion that we approve the Pentagoet Inn and Pub, the Castine Cottages, and the Elms at Castine, all for a liquor license for this year. Is there a second? Second?
Yeah.
Is there any discussion?
I just have one question. And maybe Sue might be able to answer this for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. The original didn't print out page 2 or 3 of that for some reason.
Thank you. So, on the application from Alan Diane Mountain Casting Cottages, the option of, victulars is checked off, but I've always understood that to mean that they're serving alcohol or food in that
It should be
designation.
innkeepers, it shouldn't be victuals.
Is that something that we can?
I can change
Because
that.
I wasn't sure if they were innkeepers or lodging houses.
Yes.
If they're set up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So do this. That's.
so yeah, it's just the wrong box check, so it would just be that first box and we'll take it with the second one. Good catch.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Next is updates from board and committee chairs. And if Mark Pelletier is here, it's Cascade Historic Preservation Commission's update.
Thank you. Many explaining this, I should go back to what that's what fabulous to be. Anyway, I'm the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. I serve with 3 other members of our community. Brooke Tennings, our secretary, thank you, Brooke, for starting up. And George Trinovich, one of the co-owners of the Pentagoet, and Jeff Stammen, who lives just on the street, down Slate Block. We need another member, and we need alternates. And I've got to tell you, it's very hard to find anybody in this town who wants to serve on a commission that, well, I guess appreciated by some, is really denigrated by others. Nobody wants to be told what to do with their property, even though their property, which is in the historic district, which is a very limited part of our town. The property values are actually enhanced by being in the historic district. And yet there are several times when people have spoken to me and other members of the commission that who can tell me what to do with my property? And yet we live in a beautiful historic bucolic community because people are taking care of their properties and have adhered to certain standards. And they really are standards. Anyway, the business that we've had over the last year, we've done about half a dozen applications. We approved all of them, except one, which everybody in this room, I'm sure, realizes is an application made by the Woodley Memorial Library. We denied them. We denied their application for a certificate, although they had already been approved by the planning board, which we believed was done out of order and erroneously. But be that as it may, the library subsequently appealed to the zoning board of appeals. Zoning board of appeals remanded it back to us. Last week, we took further action and created a 20-point findings of fact. Once again, denying the application. Now it goes back to the zoning board of appeals. And if the zoning board of appeals upholds our decision, then the library project, which we believe was not in the best interest of the historic nature of our town, will be denied, or the library can appeal to Superior Court. Those are the only two options, either accept the findings or they appeal to Superior Court. On the other hand, the zoning board of appeals may rule that our interpretation of our town's ordinance, which by the way, none of us wrote, but which exists, was invalid. In which case, the library may choose to build what they want to build on the site. We have also, last year, we made a number of proposed changes to the ordinance, the historic preservation ordinance. We submitted it to the then town manager, code enforcement officer, and we've seen no reply whatsoever. And it's been better part of a year. We have decided as a commission to revisit the proposed changes that we offered. And we'll probably make other recommendations based on that. We're also going to revisit the design manual, which guides a lot of the development opportunities that people have in town. And offer, a number of amendments. For instance, nobody has 36-inch satellite dishes in their front yards anymore, right? We've all got 50 or more, or Spectrum, I think pretty much in the village. And lastly, we had started to develop a welcome package for people who are buying properties in the historic district. That there should be no surprise to them that they've actually bought a house in the historic district and they must abide by the ordinance. It's a little folder we started working on. We'd like to distribute that at town hall. and also in realtors' offices, which is where most everybody would find an opportunity to buy a house or any property in the historic district. But I think that's it. And I ask all of you, if you could think of anybody who might have the aptitude, the experience, and the interest in joining us on the Preservation Commission, would be most welcome. Anything else?
Do the homeowners in the historic district have, I mean, do you guys give them access to the ordinance and the design manual that you have now?
Well, it's, first off, they're all available online. The first thing that anybody who's planning to make any changes needs to do is to go to the code enforcement officer for a building permit. And it's up to him to decide whether or not a project should be referred to us. And prior to going to the planning board or any other board in town, a certificate must be granted by or denied by the Historic Preservation Commission.
Thank you.
So there is a mechanism, and everything is available to everybody in town on the town website. I will just say that the existing ordinance that's on the town website does not include any of the proposed revisions that we have offered. And as I said, we're waiting for the code enforcement officer and the town manager to tell us that they will be accepted.
Can I just add that, just as a reminder and going over a little bit of a time frame, if the commission members are proposing amendments to the ordinance, it has to go to town meeting.
Yes.
And if the goal is the May town meeting, then there's other posting requirements, meetings to be held. So we just need to be conscious of the time frame coming up, because we need to have it all in place for our deadline at printers for town report. So if you want to see us in the office to go over specific timelines, we're more than happy to go over that with you.
But that's very good advice. I wasn't thinking along those lines, but that's why you have the important job here of telling us the process that we need to follow. But that's absolutely correct.
Anything?
Anything?
Stan, any questions? Okay.
I got,
Good.
Sean did forward me those, I just haven't had a chance to look at them since he forwarded them to me, just.
Forwarded
That your proposed changes that you had.
Right, and by the way, I want to thank Derek for helping us with what I thought was a rather important issue, dealing with the Weatherly Memorial Library, the ZBA remanding back to us. He was very helpful in helping us craft the findings of fact. So,
Thank you.
thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mark.
Sure.
Thank you to the members of your committee for the work that you do. Oh, I'm sorry, Betsy, you had a question?
I don't know if this fits in or not, but back when we were doing the road, the select board had a committee to help, let's say, streetlights,
Mhm.
right? And anybody could join that committee, right? And we had pictures of various streetlights that people could choose from. We sent booklets out to everybody living on the state, look over designs so that they could vote on it through mail. And but one of the things we did was we had a committee, and the committee existed of a lot of people in town, and they made a selection of lamps, the outside lights, lanterns that we had. And at that time, the Historic Preservation, not all of them, but a few of them were very upset about it, but they didn't like the lights. And they didn't like the lights that are way up high, but the ones over the intersections had to be up high. They're talking about the ones on the ground. And so what happened was they voted on it, people in town voted on it, it's our town, And they voted on it at town meeting. That's why I suggested last time that maybe we can do something like that.
Thank you. Thank you. I talked about it. Okay. Next is discussion regarding the composting grant, and I'm gonna leave that to Dan and Derek. Dan, you're muted.
There we go. Derek, you want to jump off?
You want me to take it?
Yeah, sure. And then I'll chime in.
All right, so this is about at the last maybe work session, Chair Boskowitz read a thing from the governor on waste diversion grants, and so Ina, Dan, and I met last week to discuss whether we should be doing something like at the and Nina also, Desmond, a transfer station operator, also was part of that discussion, joined us by phone. We discussed whether we should jump into this as originally like with a big pile of compost at the transfer station or not, whether we're ready for that, the logistics, if we use chickadee, trying to transport it. So after we had that discussion, whether or not we could be creating critters there, what that program would entail to properly put together a budget for it. I didn't dare to really produce such a grant with only 2 weeks to go without doing more research. So what I proposed was that we purchase through what is that called? NRRA, which is
Exactly.
Recycling vendors, if you will, that we've used in the past that represent towns for recycling. We buy these backyard composting kits, which comes with a pail for your counter, the composting container, and actually, I think they call it a wing digger, which is what you mix it up with. I've used these in the past, so they've been proposed by the NRRA and sold a few throughout the years, or we've applied for money for them. And in this case, we would get, Dan, I forget how many we decided, 40 of them?
Yes, yes.
60 on the application, because I drafted.
Oh, I
Yeah.
haven't got all the way through all the language on that. And then also, we were going to get a couple of what they were calling the lobster trap ones, so we could possibly do a little smaller demo type of one at the transfer station. And what we would provide these would be free of charge to people on a first come, first served basis. And then we could learn how to compost ourselves and also get public comments from those people that are actually using these backyard composters to see the success of the program. In the meantime, also start to look at some of these other programs that are around in Skowhegan, for instance, and I forget, Rockland possibly has one, maybe Kennebunk is another one. And we could actually learn what their budget for that, their success rate, the amount of volume that they're getting to really see if this was feasible in the long term to have it at the transfer station and start putting some numbers together for it. So I'll let Dan chime in a second, but by the time we get done with this, I'll need permission to apply for this grant and actually allow me to sign in the documents related to it, since it will be due January 31st. So go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I just want to add that this is, to me, is like it's like steps in the right direction, and this will also allow us to get a sense of if we can get people to actually weigh or measure how much material they're diverting from landfill. We can get a sense of what our landfill would be reduced if we were composting on a broader scale. And because this is a really small grant, and we already have a match, there's a match that we'll have to provide, which there's an anonymous donor. It won't cost the town anything if we get the grant.
And that's because, and so to find out how much we're going, we would not be throwing into the landfill is because we pay by the ton, is that
Exactly.
correct? So this could lessen our transfer fees, or transfer station fees quite
Yeah.
a bit.
Yeah, but I think also my other thought is, and Derek mentioned it, is that if we actually set up a demonstration model at the dump, and if people don't know, if people need help, we've got it set up there. We can fence it in so critters won't get it. So we can actually have an educational model, and then we can have first come, first serve, and then we can get a sense of, is this viable or not? And it's really a no expense opportunity if we win the grant. And Ina was of the thinking that because we're asking for a very small grant, it's 6,000, right, Derek?
No, she's got it up a little higher. I want to talk to her about that. It's 8625 total right now.
Right, yeah. But what I'm saying is that it's still a small number, which could really lead us in the right direction.
Amy, did you have any questions?
No, so if I understand you, Derek, buying the 60 kits is part of, that's what the purchase is at this time through the grant. That's
Yeah, and
what-
it was
And the demo model.
from Ina's.
Right.
Proposed
I get it.
grant, and I got, she's got 6,900 would be for the grant amount, and that would be for all of the equipment that we would actually need.
Right.
She's actually got it so that the matching funds are in-kind services, which is actually the time for Nina's time at the transfer station, and then she's also saying that somebody else, they're saying Public Works that would deliver the equipment directly to people's homes. I mean, some people can probably pick them up themselves.
Yeah.
And then also to do some demos. I think we will need to find somebody who works for the town who would be assigned to be the expert. Backyard compost, and so she has that, the matching is actually being their time. Kind services, so it's not really cash out of pocket, it's, you know, we're paying those people anyways, but their time will need to be allocated to this.
And we still gotta fine tune it. That's the thing. Like I said, we met on Thursday afternoon and I told them to get something together maybe for tonight. So we had an idea. So those numbers may change a little bit because I noticed that the lobster trap ones aren't in there. And that was the one that I thought we would use because it's easier to demonstrate. Basically looks like just a big round circle, but it's got metal lobster trap like lining over it to keep things out of it, so you drop the stuff down through it. So yeah, so the budget that Karen's alluding to is kind of a work in progress, but we do have an anonymous donor should we need cash to.
Yep. I just wanna thank you guys for putting that together so quickly and just so people understand, as often happens with the state. You get an email and you're reading down through the 500,000 things that are in, not really, but that are in the email. And in the middle, you see, oh, there's money for composting projects. And it always seems to happen when there's, 2 weeks left. But so I just really appreciate everybody pulling it together. So do I have a motion to go ahead and apply for this grant?
I move.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you. And is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Dan and Derek and Ina and Nina. All right. Town manager report.
Everybody's favorite part of the meeting.
Absolutely.
Let's see, solar update. I don't know if you read your email. I revised this afternoon just before the meeting because I do have some of the helioscope information back and what the layout might be for that for us to discuss at our next meeting. I think what between now and then I'm gonna call Maine Power Options K-Man there to actually get her input on how these contracts have worked before. I don't know if it was stressed well enough at the meeting that the state has already solicited bids for a vendor and for advising communities, and that's what we would be taking advantage under this. I know that there's a question of whether we should go at RFP and everything else. Those things have a cost there. of 16,000, 5,000 for, I think, for the study with CMP. So, but I wanted to get her input on it and also the amount of any lease, which I don't know the exact amount yet because it wasn't included. But he did give us the smaller scale project for just town use, and then also a larger one of the 1 megawatt for you to consider. So we'll do that at our next regular meeting, but if you want to discuss some of that stuff at the work session to get a little jump start on it, we can also do that. But review those materials that literally are just hot off the press. They came in around 2 o'clock today and I didn't see them until I traded a couple emails. OPM and fire department budget, that should have said building, I guess, but budget for the building and everything else. Randy and I met with Colliers to discuss an OPM again. We are going to be setting aside some time next week to discuss fire department issues. So we'll give you a little update on what we're coming up with that, but we may have some hard questions for the board to think about for the February meeting also on what the next move is. Want Karen to be, of course, at that meeting also because we're going to be discussing timing and when to go to the voters with that. So that we can move that project forward. I'm glad to see that our little notes aren't up there on the board. Somebody removed them, so I didn't want people thinking that we were preconceived notions of stuff up there. It was literally just some sketching around that we were doing to look at timelines, budgets and stuff like that. And when to go to the voters. Waterfront dock study, GI has done 2 updates thus far on the project, one to the Board of Selectmen, one to the Harbor Committee. They finalized the flyer on Saturday and I sent that out to everybody and need to get that put up around town in various places. I did post that up on Facebook today. I don't know if Sue noticed that I did that or not, but it's up on Facebook. I converted it to a JPEG. So we'll send out a text blast. Is that what we call those, Sue? Text blasts?
Push notification.
Push notifications, thank you. I call them text blasts, apparently. She doesn't know what that means. I figured out. Was that right? Yeah, oh no, I said email blast, right? And she's like, I have no idea what that means. Different terminology. I meant a text blast, which is called a push notification. So, so that will go out to the public. Encourage everybody to be there June 30th, 2025, upstairs. January 30th. I don't know why I'm looking towards the end of the fiscal year for some reason. January 30th, 7 p.m. But also we'll be at the town dock at 11 with the engineers, or some of us will be, and also at 4 p.m. to look at tide levels, low tide and high tides at 5, but we figured we wanted to be there while it was light out, so it will be a little bit before that. Hopefully we'll have a lot of people there because this is their chance to actually discuss the study and give some input on what they would like to see, and there'll be some demonstrations and possibly roundtables where we'll be able to have smaller discussions and I think bring back the larger group, but I'm not the facilitator, so I'm not going to tell you exactly how it's going to work because I don't know exactly until I get there myself. But they're the experts on that stuff anyways. Cybersecurity, haven't heard anything on whether we'll get some security keys or when they're going to roll out this particular security package stuff, but it's supposedly in the works on the state. I did give you the job description before I took off on Friday. So we probably want to discuss that either after I get done with this report, if you have changes or not, because I'd like to get that out as soon as possible. Nothing to report on the fire protection grant at this time. The end of the month, they're supposed to be hiring the administrator for that grant, and then we'll go to do the tougher work. The congressional grant for the dock, supposed to have what they are calling cohorts. I want to be part of cohort number 1. I signed up like a week before and I sent them daily emails asking, okay, I haven't got any links to when this is going to start. And an hour before the meeting, got another email saying, oh, don't worry, you're all signed up and you'll be getting an email before it starts. And I was like, yeah, I'd like to know what time it starts. You haven't told me exactly the time. So I believe the time was 1 o'clock. And that came and went. And I'm like, what am I missing here? I was promised that I'd get a notice. And a couple hours later, I got a notice that said that they had technical difficulties. So during that time, I had signed up for cohort number 3 because I wanted to give them time to work through whatever was going on. So now that won't start till middle of February on that, but I still peck away at some of the information on the website. But the idea with these cohorts are, apparently they're gonna send out these little training videos and then they have like a little group call for questions and answers on the various subject matter. And there's 4 different subject matters altogether. There's the project narrative, timelines, budgets, I don't know, and something else, reporting probably off the top of my head. So that's going on. Acadia Dock, somebody was working on that on Friday. Scott had updated the harbor committee last week about that they were going to be back to do that. They're planing down, I guess, the best I could describe it, the decking or the timbers underneath in order to help the edge be more flush. If you've noticed it, it's up a little bit. Scott, anything else you wanted to add?
We're actually shimming it up.
Shimming it up, okay.
Just so that it's parallel with the concrete.
Okay, right, so, all right, so they're not shaving it down, they're shimming up the other spots, all right, I got it backwards. But they're leveling it off, how's that, one way or the other? And then they're supposed to be doing the cross bracing reinforcements at some point, right?
It's not cross bracing, it's the brackets that go from timber to the pile.
Oh, right, and that one there, I forgot, this is Acadia Dock, not the other one. Right, so we have the metal plates that hold the pilings to the decking up above. So it doesn't, as if you've seen the video, so it doesn't get pushed up. Let's see, I did properly use Titan Open Classic planking, by the way. Did you notice that, rather than flow through? So because we ought to give the proper credit to what we use there, not a different company entirely. I'll do a personnel update for you in executive session. FEMA, been going back and forth with FEMA on different concept designs and for Water Street, Fort Madison, the erosion there, and most recently sent them a picture of the new beach Christmas tree, as I'll call it, which is a big spruce, I believe, that has now come off the side of the slope and is now resting on the beach. So those particular discussions have led to them actually submitting in money for both those projects for engineering. Whether or not they'll approve it or not, we will see, but they've now pivoted and said, hey, we need to actually look at this. You're showing us that the erosion is serious. So hopefully they'll give us money for it.
What's that timeline like?
Design and engineering,
Process.
when they get around to it, it's FEMA. There's been wildfires in California and North Carolina. I'm guessing that's what's going on, but all these other emergencies take their time too. We literally submitted a lot of this information back in July and August, and so we haven't got that far still. It seems like environmental staff is pretty busy. MBRC grant, thought we would have had something back on that. That's for the Western Court Street infrastructure. Have not heard anything yet. Just visited the website today. I couldn't find any like results for that. T-Mobile grant, that just went in, as you know, just before Christmas, so we're waiting information on that project. I'll be meeting with State Harbors, Julia, hopefully Thursday, to discuss the operations of that facility. Just kept that in there, but the Community Resilience Partnership, I had filled out the paperwork to renew our membership in that before our last meeting. And Project Canopy Grant, I believe we're gonna have a meeting on the 27th, but I'm not sure. There's two dates floating around, but once I know, I'll let you know.
What was that grant for?
That grant, no, that grant is a project for forestry management. So we've been looking at town lots and some private wood lots and how to properly manage them. And of course, in light of the fires in California and everything, that becomes even more important. But it was about, you get a licensed forester in there to manage a wood lot, to help it grow the proper species that you want, or for whatever you want to, use it for. So we're, and we need to choose the actual properties that we're gonna look at as demonstration types of stuff. Back when I was a youngin', we actually would have foresters from International Paper or some of the other bigger landholders that they would manage your properties for you anyways, because and now I guess it's fallen off the wayside a little bit. But we will be providing another update once we move forward with that.
Derek,
Alrighty, yeah,
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dawn and Derek, I think that once we have that Project Canopy and actually get that survey complete, that will actually open up the door for more grants for us to be able to apply for in the future. It
This is
will
a-
actually,
This is a planning and
Right.
education.
Right.
grant.
yeah,
right,
we have to have that in order to move on in the.
thank you. Let's see, GA ordinance, we'll get to that one of these meetings, update that. Mark already did a historic preservation commission, they did their findings of fact, waiting for the ZBA. MBO traffic calming, I've been looking at possible trailers for that, narrow, I'm gonna call them narrow gauge trailers, or be it, but we don't want 5 foot wide trailer sticking out in the road, otherwise I get a feeling that the speed sign will be in the shoulder of the road. So looking for a proper sized trailer to put that out there. Peter did send me some ideas, and so I know what I'm looking for. I think I did a Google search on Thursday, but then I had to go do my real job of getting something done. But I'll be back to that, so don't be surprised if one of these days you see a trailer on the warrants, and that will be for that purpose. Want to talk to Corey also on that, so that we're on the same page. I'm also waiting for some instructions on linking the solar panels and everything else on it, and actually also looking for a couple of trailers you buy commercially, which are a few $1,000s, and I don't want to spend more than a few $100. They have a sign that has magnetic numbers for it, so you can change it if it's a flip. Some of them flip, but if you're in a 25 zone and you switch it to a 55 zone or 45 zone, or whatever that may be, trying to figure out that to see if I can find one. I haven't had any luck, although they come with these other trailers that you buy intact. So I know they're out there, I just haven't found the right place. The other alternative is we could just have signs that we slip in there when we change them to a different street. My only problem with that is I don't want those signs to walk away. I kind of want them solidly fastened to the trailer. So that is something I'm looking for, but we need to actually figure out what roads we're going to be looking at addressing for other traffic calming measures. And I know that's where we left it before. We would do some type of a forum, get our public hearing, we'd get information from people, and then we would actually discuss with the highway engineers what they would recommend us on those particular roads. So throwing that in your lap, taking it off my plate, except for I will work on the trailer. Let's see, affordable housing. you hear from Mark yet? No, I left him a pretty good message, last week saying, hey, I gave your name, I haven't heard, that you've called her back yet, so, could you please get a hold of her? And he hasn't called me back yet either, so don't take it personal.
Okay.
I might have to, call his office to actually see if he's in rather than his cell phone. Let's see, don't want to go too much into this, but Peter Garrett is working on, looking at source water protection zones in town. He's doing this based on the fact that, we did the hydrogeologic study, so we wanted to look at, those protection zones and actually weigh in on, which he already basically said, he doesn't believe the water flows in those directions, but he's working on, looking at something to provide the water district. Looking at our zones, I understand it when those were created, they went to the property lines, meaning the street, property lines, and that's how they were created. And he basically said those are overkill based on, the data. So I said, well, I'm not gonna be pushing to change any of these zones right now during the fire station, building or, discussions, but, certainly interested in, what he finds with, water generation from, previously to now. You know, so I think this is gonna have a lot of interesting information in it on where we get our water, or do we need to rely on those things, and, how the water flows. It's kind of like a second opinion, but not really a second opinion. Let's see, clock is now working, and now you can set it remotely rather than climbing up a steeple up 3 different ladders. So that's good news. And I think that's everything I have except for my meeting schedule. You'll see that. I will say on the 29th, Randy says he's gonna go. I've committed to it, but I also have a root canal on the 29th, so I'm not sure whether I need recovery time, whether I'll want to go to a meeting for 2 hours later that evening or not. We'll find out. What the dentist told me was the pain that I have had or whatever was usually the pain related to the root canal, not the root canal itself. But he might just be telling me a story because I've never had one.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
So regarding the 27th, so the work session next Monday, I guess we'll play it by ear. We're hoping to have a housing work session, and we're hoping to have Dan was reaching out to a banker. And we were reaching out to the main housing authority. Dan?
I haven't gotten the commitment yet. I'm waiting to hear back from her, but I've told her I wanted to see. What time should I tell her?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, but so she can go first in the meeting.
Or, yeah, we'll do housing first from 4
Okay,
to
great.
whatever.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So, that may change. Bless you. But we'll try to keep you posted. All right. We have something we had to vote on here.
CDD
Thank you. All right.
or comments or something you might have.
I looked good.
I see Amy might have something there. Oh, I thought that was the document, the notes, but maybe not.
No.
Well, I don't care if you guys individually send them to me if we don't have them all right now, but it just. I tried to fit in little projects I thought would help us out in the future. It could have been more pages, but I tried to pare it down so it wasn't overkill. I thought it touched most of the topics and.
Also because it's a part-time job.
Right,
And so
right.
in terms of what we're really expecting someone to be able to accomplish, we don't want to spread them so thinly that they feel torn in too many directions.
Right.
Or not supported enough to get a whole laundry list of things done, with only 20 hours per week. So.
And that's why I wrote some of that, you know, these are some of the projects he may be working on, or I want to make sure they don't think they're gonna get bored, you know, waiting to create new businesses.
Right.
It's more than just trying to attract, you know, or create new businesses. It's about doing some other fringe projects too.
Yeah.
To keep them busy.
Yeah.
And
I just
that could be like over 5 years, you know, you're not gonna get all those things done that quickly.
Right, well, and as the position, if we find a good candidate in position and we get a sense of their recommendations for the town, if the town were to approve the position to be more hours per week, you know, then the duties of the position can evolve as the town and residents, you know, decide.
Right,
So
Yeah.
based on what they want. My edits were just minor, so I'll just send them to you.
Okay.
In an email, or
Yeah.
I'll make a copy of it for you.
yeah, that'd be great.
Tonight, and little things here and there, but no, overall, it was good. Thank you very much for pulling it together.
Okay,
So,
Thank you, Darren. All right, did anybody have any questions for the town manager?
Yes, I do. I talked to you on the phone earlier in the week.
oh, I'm glad he mentioned this, sorry,
Alright,
I knew you're gonna be here. So can I have this as part of their, my manager's report? And, this is going to be about mobile vending, just so you know. Oh, go ahead.
my name is Chris Broder. I'm a graduate from the Associates program over at MMA. I've just returned back I'm living in Penobscot now with my wife and newborn son. And we are, well, we were here before, there was no vending, as far as I could tell, allowed in Castine. That was about 2.5 years ago. But since we've returned, we bought a little hot dog cart that we were fixing up. Then we had a baby and, you know, just didn't really get to it, but when I got to town, I realized that rules have kind of changed. And I was just hopeful that there might be some sort of wiggle room for wintertime vending. I looked at the language in the application, and it's basically between May and October. So I'm just curious, you know, I'm trying to pay my way through the rest of school. I got the cart, I'm willing to stay out in the cold. I know there's a bunch of guys down at the docks that are working on the project down there. I know the students always eat food. Yeah. I haven't really worked out what times would work. I mean, in my head, with my schedule, I think breakfast would be something I'd be looking at. Maybe, I don't really know, in terms of, because I was older when I came to school, I didn't really do the whole Danny Murphy's thing. I don't know what the nighttime amount of people that's down there looking for food. But at the very least, a breakfast sort of service is what I was hoping to offer. And I just wanted to bring it to you guys and see what everyone thought. And the other thing about it that I saw in the application was the fee schedule. I think it's, you know, I think it's definitely geared towards tourist season, and it would definitely kind of be discouraging for me if the fees were at the same level they are in the summertime.
Thank you. We pulled out the mobile vending ordinance on Friday.
Yep.
And started looking through it to see what kind of changes we could make or what kind of, or how we could figure out how to make this work for you.
Yep.
So we are looking at it,
Right.
and that was one of the concerns, was that we felt the fee structure was definitely set toward tourist season and not for what you're looking to do.
Sure.
So we're gonna continue looking at it, and we're
Okay.
gonna get back to you, but thank you so much for bringing this to us.
Yeah,
This
very
is
good.
exciting.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody have other business? Yeah,
No.
okay, maybe not. Okay, for communications, we have a letter from the Castine Touring Company that came to the town manager, just letting him know that the Castine Touring Company is accepting funding requests from Castine businesses and organizations throughout the month of January. And if the town had a request, they could make it. And there's also a letter in our packet from Senator Grahowski. Just letting all of us know that if we have any feedback or we want to reach out to her about anything that's coming up in this legislative session, that we can do so. And we had the annual sheriff's report from Hancock County Sheriff's Office. That's available to anybody, but it looks like we had 49 911 calls in 2024. So, And it gives a breakdown of what they are, but I will not read the entire list to you. That would take a while, but we can get a copy for you if you so require.
If you look at the back, there was 199 calls
Oh.
that went to Hancock County Sheriff's Department, and this was just Hancock County
So
Sheriff.
reported.
Did not cover.
Oh, just
Main
nine.
State Police.
Main State, right, doesn't count my Main State Police, so 199 total. What I'm missing, okay, anyway, but 40 through 911, so the others were not through 911, okay? So, and we'll be happy to give you a copy of that if you want to know the breakdown. All right. Looking at our next meeting schedule, oh, wait, I'm sorry. I forgot to acknowledge members of the public and answer questions. Does anyone have a question? Don Tanny.
So a comment. An opinion. Casting has been down this road before, I know, and it's a bumpy one. But it's a public, I regard it as a public safety issue, and that is the clearing of our sidewalks, at least in the village area. This latest storm has pointed out that problem very obviously to me. I'm sure Karen shares my feeling about it. She has to walk down to the PO on the bank every day, and she has to walk through 5 inches of snow on the sidewalk. And if it thaws and rains and freezes, then it becomes a serious public hazard. So I think we should try to ball up an idea about that, perhaps before this next town meeting. I don't know, maybe it's too soon to do that. But I remember a couple of years ago, at least, we had voting on whether A, the town should buy a machine at X numbers of dollars, and that was voted down, or B, whether the property owners on the sidewalks would be required to clear their sidewalks, and that was voted down. So it was no and no. So that's where we are right now. But here we are in this lovely town, and we have some pretty decent sidewalks, I think, where they need to be. From the library around in front of this building down to the variety, at least for the public safety.
Thank you,
So
thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you have one more thing about that?
I go up.
Oh, okay, wait.
Mobile vending, are you entertaining any opinions about what happened last summer and who will be invited back or anything like that? That's just a abstract comment, but
We hadn't talked about that, but that's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. Regarding the composting and the bear, no, not the bear, the compost bins. Be prepared to put up a welcome all Maine black bear sign. Because they love compost bins, they dismantled ours a few years ago. So these bins better be really strong because bears are really strong. Just
They're little backyard ones. The other ones, I don't know. That's why we didn't decide, well, one of the reasons we discussed was that you needed to have a building for compost that would keep the critters away, so.
Well,
little critters, yeah, but
I mean, I have one of those, what are they, 3-yard dumpsters that Greg Bowden brings to my house.
Yeah.
And yeah, the bear comes in, he just tips it upside down.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they're.
Here you are.
If there's something there they want, they
Yeah.
get it.
Anything else? Anything else, Don? Okay, Mark, was it related to one of Don's things?
Yes, I wanted to, speak to Don's point about clearing sidewalks. As you know, I chaired an ad hoc committee, regarding that issue. It was 3 years ago. I will say that at the time, select board offered absolutely zero support. They suggested that we create an ordinance, effectively vote the ordinance, and when there was a public hearing, sat on their hands while I presented it to the town. And it then went to the town meeting with zero support. That's why nothing happened. I will just say that someday somebody's gonna get run over. And we're gonna sit here and we're gonna say, gee, how do we let that happen? We can either buy a snowplow We can engage somebody to plow, or we can require homeowners to plow their property. I will say that in most municipalities in the United States of America, where there's snow, property owners are responsible for clearing the snow in front of their property, regardless of whether or not they happen to be there all winter. And it's not a big deal. You know, for a while, my wife and I shoveled all of Green Street. Charlie Pierce used his little snowplow, plowed all of Main Street. So, you know, with a little bit of civic pride, a little bit of, yeah, we can do this. We can take care of it. But if we choose not to, and if the select board doesn't support it, then don't bother, and just wait for something to happen. The reason I wanted to set up that original committee was because my little dog, who's no longer with us, and I almost got run over one day in front of the post office. And it's happened to a number of people. We have a lot of frail, older people walking on the sidewalks. We have school children walking on the sidewalks. We have MMA students walking on the sidewalks. People who drive probably don't care much. Said my piece, thank you.
Penny, was it about the sidewalk thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
I today watched in Spearsport, a very effective sidewalk clearing happening, and I don't know if we own a Bobcat, but on their Bobcat, there is a blower, which is obviously an add-on that they use for their sidewalks, very effective.
Bucksport too, they have a fantastic little machine that goes around.
Although it does roll down hills on its side though. They're down one of those right now. There's a little accident on the Park Street and it fell off their sidewalk and then tumbled down that hill down past Family Dollar. I believe the person is okay now, but he was banged up a little bit. Those machines, by the way, are a couple $100,000 for that style.
That expensive.
Right,
We were talking about $50,000 machine last time around.
like a snow blower with a plastic thinger in it. Yeah. Yeah, because our sidewalks are also very narrow. They're not the classic. I don't think either of those machines would fit on our sidewalks. Maybe
A little.
the side. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was more than just I offered a pretty damn good, snowblower. At that time, nobody wanted it. So I sold it. Anyway, but one of the problems with snowblowing, it's not just the snowblower, it's the sand. Okay, and that's the real problem. Rains today, snow tomorrow, ice the next day. Clear it off. Rains today, ice tomorrow, sunny day, ice. So it's constant. Absolute constant. This is just a one-shot deal. But most people that are renting in town, I think that they have in their leases, businesses anyway, I think they have a clause in the energy. Show your own private. I think.
Just, oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and I think that leads us up to another question is the enforcement, right? If we're going to have a requirement, we also have to be willing to enforce it
Well,
as a
when you
town,
start,
whatever
you're
that
also
may be.
liable, you know.
What's that?
Well, the way Gordon explained it to me, but Gordon said we don't have to do anything, just a couple of weeks ago, that's why I asked the same question. When Gordon was chairman, I said, Gordon, are you sure? He said, that's right, we have no obligation to do anything.
Well, I would say just me personally, to your comment, Mark, I will be and am supportive of this, of a solution of one kind or another, because I think it should be something that is solvable. And as we've just done a new comprehensive plan and we're starting to hire an economic development coordinator, if we want to help Cascine stay a safe and kind of vibrant year-round community, I think the least that we can do is have something that addresses sidewalk clearing, whether it be through the town or something enforceable through the residents as the responsibility. I mean, I lived on Main Street when we owned the inn for 15 years, and we always shoveled, our section. But and then we would get the benefit of the post office, right? They shoveled. But I must say it's always troubling as you're shoveling and you get maybe to your adjacent property owner and they're not maybe doing the same thing. And we shouldn't have that, people being on some sidewalks and on some streets. So I would entertain you know, more conversations about that, I think it is.
And I second everything you say, Amy. It was perfect. You know, we need to do something.
And just so you know, I don't know if you guys ever drive through Bucksport or not, you'll see that they now have blue barrels on their side on almost every intersection now in various places. That was something I implemented because one of the things was we were doing our sidewalks, but we were never sanding our sidewalks. So we created a lend a hand type thing. You notice it's slippery. Those little barrels are there with scoops in them, so you can throw the sand down and help yourself, right? As a citizen. So and I understand it's been very successful because it keeps coming back year after year.
Alright,
Yeah, and it keeps, yeah, I mean, you know, I just my driveway, I mean, you know, we haven't seen it today, tomorrow, some nice up again, so it's going to not be cheap, it's very expensive. And so, and you're supposed to be able to see the before, but I don't see it yet.
thank you. Thank you. Scott, did you have something?
Yes, I'm going to talk about the little boat that you have picture of in front of you. The harbor master's boat is died and it needs to be replaced. The hull is leaking and you know, we've had it for like 35 years, is that right? You know, something like that. Long time.
It's been a while, and just, I mean, the other thing is that the harbor committee and you have actually been looking at the harbor master built for several years now. And there was a couple of them that they actually thought were just gonna be the right one, and then when it really came down to it, it wasn't. So this is nothing new, looking for a new boat.
It's been going on for a while and I've been in the last couple of years putting sandbags in the back of the boat to keep it afloat. So the water is coming in from the front and anyhow, it's just time to go. And I did find this one before the marine. I have sent out feelers to a bunch of people and this one just came in recently. It's a 17-foot Mako. There's lots of horizontal space for storage and things. Dr. Randy, I think we can use that as a fire boat as well. It's in the budget of the capital expenditures for a boat, plus a little bit out of the capital account for dock maintenance.
So how much is the boat?
It's $20,000. And there'll be up to $4,000 worth of things we need to do. The bottom needs to be painted, that's $1,200. We gotta move the electronics from the because most of the electronics on the existing bus are new. So I'll take that off and give it to Fort Allen Marine and they'll install it by the hour or whatever that turns out to be. But I would think if you approve a budget of like 24, we could do it.
And we, and the money, carrying the money is in our account, we have that much?
Yeah, we have,
Well, she's looking, the old boat,
we have $20,936 in the boat reserve.
what was it?
$20,936. And then Scotty and I can talk about it, because it could be up to 24 by the time you get the other things done. That the balance of that would come out of the harbor improvements capital account.
Okay.
Which harbor improvements. Harbor improvements, we have 14,175, so we could take for the additional, $4,000 out of it.
Okay.
In that harbor improvements capital account, are there other items or projects in the future for the rest of the fiscal year that are tagged for those funds?
What we had done is we had actually tagged to do some of the floats and do some of the repairs on the town dock. Well, of course, the storm took out town dock, and then we did the storm damage with that. So some of our projects that we were planning on out of there were taken care of through the storm damage account because the town dock had to be completely replaced. So we're not taking anything that has been earmarked for another project. It is a sort of the, if something comes up issue, which we could budget any additional money at the Maytown meeting to repay that account, essentially.
We will get some of that back from Boston Whaler somebody, like, the motor is relatively new. And Aaron and I thought we might be able to move the motor, over to a new hull. That wasn't going very well, and then the hull that we finally got approved on was too big for the little motor we had. The trailer is relatively new, and somebody could probably do it. As a home handyman, tear the jack out of it and fix it and get it to what we think, but.
Or somebody may have another haul that they want to put that motor and use that trailer for, that we currently don't, so we can
And so our-
get something for it.
Well, is it just old or was it damaged or,
And damage.
okay,
And we've tried fixing it a couple times, it takes on water, and we've done the whole thing where you drill it out and try to dry it out, and then.
We've done the rail, we've done all kinds of things, and David Wyman, who's a surveyor, has looked at it 2 or 3 times and doesn't know for sure where it's coming from, but then when you water meter to test the hull, it's full of water, which is not supposed to be any water.
Mhm.
So,
Not good.
and, using sandbags and stuff to, I don't think the town gas even needs to do that anymore.
No.
This is, the last ones I was looking at were 36,000 2 weeks ago. This is a really good boat, and they're a sturdy boat, and came from a hotel in Bar Harbor. They bought it 2 years ago, and all they need is go out in the mooring field and pick up guests and bring them into the hotel. So it's not like it's been fished or anything, it's just been puttering around. Got 90 hours,
Thank you.
Did you say 90 hours? That's what I was gonna ask you. What year is the boat?
23. It's a good price.
Comes with that mercury on it.
Yeah.
What is it?
75.
75?
It's actually an excellent price.
Yeah.
Mm.
It is. Derek, is this something we should go?
Yeah, I think so. You just gotta figure out where the money's coming from, right, Karen?
Well, that's what I said.
Right. I don't know if you took notes
I
on
did.
it, right? Okay.
But do we have to vote on it or not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll make a motion that we purchased this 17-foot Mako, 2023 Mako. And we'll take the $20,936 from the boat reserve and the rest from the harbor improvements capital account. And up to $24,000.
Roberta, why don't you just say 25, just in case there's something comes up and they're $500, you know what I mean?
Sure, that's a good idea. Okay,
Yeah.
up to $25,000, I have
Okay.
in mind.
Okay, I second it.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
Well, Mark, what?
I said, it's a comment, we're gonna take $20,936, $20,936 out of the reserve account. What are we gonna put into the new reserve account?
Oh, maybe.
Don't you need one?
That will be at town meeting.
We'll still have the reserve account and we'll put more into it.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll just have a zero balance in a town meeting. Most likely, we will put some money in there.
We'll put more in there.
Yeah, for maintenance or whatever on.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, all right. Next meeting. The select board needs to, before we go through next meetings, we need
Are we
to.
finished with comments?
I'm sorry, no, go ahead,
Just 1
go
second.
ahead.
I'd like to recommend to the town manager and to everybody in town actually, that they read the source water protection ordinance. In Article 12 of the source water protection ordinance, source water protection ordinance, there's a footnote. It's from the Maine Department of Health and Human Services. Drinking water program entitled Best Management Practices for Groundwater Protection. A guide for local officials, public water suppliers. And this is available at the town office. I got one the other day. You should read it. And after reading this, all consciousness you could possibly do, apply a house, on drinking water, aquifer, then something is wrong with me. And even the person that you use as your guide, this is Dr. Garrett, well, he's one of the people who developed it.
Okay.
You gotta read it, just read it. You haven't read the other one yet, because
Thank you, Bob.
I just can't believe it. And when you make a recommendation to the people in town, selecting if the, in the town match, make a recommendation to us, whether you're for it or not, or against it. Because this is a big deal, and you're going full steam ahead, build that firehouse right where it doesn't belong. And now we've got PFAS over there and a whole bunch of stuff.
Tom, did you have?
Say thank you, but nothing happens.
I just had a question, and maybe other people in the room also has received it. It's interesting that we've been talking solar panels for the last couple of months and different things and so forth. We just received a bill for $169 from a solar company, basically saying, you owe this. So I don't know if it's a scam or other people have received the same thing.
No.
We've written back and forth to the company.
Wow.
So I don't know what's going on, but I was just curious.
Don't answer those.
Well, I don't use the computer, so I don't answer any.
Has it ever shown up on your actual electric bill?
It hasn't shown up on the electric bill. It was actually invoice, that invoice.
Cause I'm wondering, like,
Check on the account.
sometimes, you know, you get slammed, like, they'll call you. And the next thing you know, you're buying your power from somebody else or whatever.
I was
Yeah,
just curious.
yeah.
Other
I
people.
haven't seen that, but
Okay.
thank you for letting us
If it looks
know.
suspicious, it is.
Yeah, my wife statement
Did you get,
sounds pretty good. It isn't.
if you get any emails from anybody with a town of Castine address that looks suspicious, double check the email address too, because we occasionally get some from certain public officials. I forget what the subject matter. Oh, can you talk? Do not call me, just email me. And if you respond to those, I'm pretty sure, I haven't yet, he's gonna want you to go to the Apple store and buy him some Apple cards or Amazon gift cards for his nephew who's sick or something, you know, but we've had a few of those.
Got one of those from Dan Leader.
I was trying not to mention any names, cause he's innocent.
He's innocent. Dan,
Right.
Randy, did you?
Right.
No, I'm just saying, I got one from Dawn too.
Oh, yeah. All right.
I think I did too, now that I'm thinking, I might have got one from you too.
For a while, President Paul was selling a piano at MMA.
Oh,
too, so we all
awesome.
forget them.
Got it.
Absolutely. Gotta get the right ones.
So,
Yeah, it's not really that funny because, you know, people fall for it. I mean, just so you know, in Allenstown, we had an elderly person that literally sent somebody $25,000 thinking it was their nephew. Yeah. And the police chief's amazed. He's like, no questions asked, just boom, send him a check. And now the money's gone.
it's awful
Yeah.
that people do that.
It is.
Okay, so the select board needs to set a time and date for our first budget meeting. So, Amy, we wanted to ask you, is afternoon always the best? Is during the day ever possible? How long are the budget meetings?
I mean, as long as you guys,
As long as you have.
I mean,
in
does it
the
make sense that we?
beginning, we sort of set them up for an hour.
Yeah.
But of course, as we get closer, sometimes we have to say, hey, you know, we've got a deadline.
Right, yeah, for me, the afternoon, late afternoon is gonna be best, then soon will be, I think. When we're doing budget stuff, I will also be building the fall schedule for the academy, which is, yeah, it's a huge project, so.
Well, I'm giving you your budget book today.
Me?
You leave. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Roberta's.
I
got
thought
one
Roberta-
there,
I don't want
and
to be
then
left
Dan
out.
will get his when he comes back to town.
So if afternoons are best.
Yeah,
Dan, I hope you have your,
Yeah, I'm here.
trying to figure out. So Amy, what's a good afternoon for you?
so I would say. Well, if we're doing Monday for select board things, right, whether it be work sessions or meetings, then I would say. For me, Tuesdays
Okay,
or Thursdays. Or some Fridays, for sure,
okay, could be fine. Karen, if we did next Tuesday, would that work, be soon enough? Would that be, okay, so why don't we say
I'm-
the,
I will have to do it remote. I won't be back until the 3rd, so I'll just call into the meeting.
Okay, thank you, but if we did Tuesday, the 28th at 4 p.m., is that?
Yep.
Okay, Dan. Thank you, Dan.
No problem. 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
Yeah.
We'll send you a Zoom link.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So on top of that, the select board has a work session on Monday, the 27th at 4 p.m. We will all, at that select board meeting, we will be just hopefully discussing housing, and we will be discussing having an upcoming public listening session on traffic calming. So we'll talk about that then. We have a community forum on Thursday, the 30th at 7 p.m. to talk about the harbor. Please tell everybody you know. And then we have a select board meeting on Monday, February 3rd, and Tuesday, February 18th, both at 4 p.m.
And on the work session on the 27th, you guys said at the town gown meeting to meet with
Yes,
Randy,
it's the
fire chief.
Fire chief at the, that's right, the second half of the work session on the 27th is to meet with Randy. Okay, thank you. All right. So now I will make a motion that we enter into executive session pursuant to Title 1 MRS Chapter 13, Section 405, 6A on personnel. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you all for coming.
Vote, need a vote on that.
Oh, and all in favor? Aye, thank you.
So just a reminder, if somebody could take jot down, probably Derek, I'm gonna grab signatures, and then the only other thing I'm gonna point out, Derek,
Yeah,
it's like 20 minutes after 5,
yeah.
and this room is being used by GSA tonight at 6. I don't know if you can move this into Derek's office.
take us a moment, I just looked through.